citations, everybody. Welcome to the companion video here on my YouTube channel. I'm your host, John Campy. It's an honor and privilege to have you guys joining me here now. What is a companion video? I'm glad that you asked. Every day on the John Campy Show in the mornings and on open mic in the afternoons, we save some time to take live questions from you guys, but we don't always have time to get around to all of them. So what I do to make sure those questions get answered is I gather those up and we bring them over here and address them on the companion videos. So without any further ado, let's get into getting caught up here. And the first one we're going to get caught up on comes from Gabe Schembarger, who writes, Batman vs. Superman, the highest grossing movie in the 20s on Rotten Tomatoes? Oh, you mean in the 20 percentile range, like really low thing? No, not even close. Because Batman vs. Superman made like $650 million. That's a lot. But it doesn't come anywhere near. There were a couple of Transformers movies. The one in particular is like Transformers Age of Extinction. I don't even think it got to 20%. Like, I think it was like 17, 18, something like that. And it got into the $1 billion club. And I think another Transformers movie also ranked that low on Rotten Tomatoes and yet made more money than Batman vs. Superman. So it's a totally fair question, because you'd look at how much money Batman vs. Superman made and you think, oh, that must be the highest any movie that rated this low. Nope. There are others, in particularly a couple of Transformers movies, and that's all I can think about off the top of my head. Like, I'm sure there are probably a few others as well. Santez Henderson writes, DC fans, what about Superman? Warner Brothers, fuck Superman. Kind of a callback to their Titans trailer. Where's Batman? And Rob goes, fuck Batman. Like, oh. Anyway, yeah, Santez, you're not wrong. That's kind of what DC has been saying about Superman, whether it's how they've treated him on the Supergirl show or how they're treating him in the movies. The fact that, it's been forever since our Man of Steel. When are we getting another Superman movie? They didn't even advertise that Superman was in Justice League. Oh, it was to avoid spoilers. Everybody knew Henry Cavill was in the movie. You weren't avoiding any spoilers. Anyway. Yeah, Sentez, I'm not going to disagree with your assessment there. Jacob Ibarra writes, did you already talk about the comment Henry's manager made? Yeah, and we talked about it on the companion video the other day, too. For those of you who don't know what Jacob's talking about, when the report in the Hollywood Reporter came out that, they had several people inside Warner Brothers who worked at Warner Brothers confirm that Henry Cavill was out as Superman. Henry Cavill's manager puts out this tweet that says, peace, the cape is still in his closet. Warner Brothers will put out a statement later today. So she didn't really say he was still Superman, and she put it off on Warner Brothers and said, Warner Brothers, don't worry, Warner Brothers is going to make an official statement later. But then Warner Brothers puts out their official statement, not denying the story. They said, while we haven't made any official decisions about future Superman movies, we have always had a good relationship with Henry Cavill and still do. What the hell does that mean? Like, if he was still Superman, you'd say, hey, we haven't made our final decisions about future Superman movies, but when we do, Henry Cavill is still our guy. Nope, they didn't say that. They said, while we haven't made any decisions about future Superman movies, we have a good relationship with Henry. What? That is not addressing the question. So, Henry's manager's comment ultimately meant nothing, because the whole basis of her comment was to say, don't worry, Warner Brothers has a comment coming. But Warner Brothers' comment didn't say anything. And then Henry Cavill puts out a little video of him just holding a Superman doll. He does not say, guys, I'm still Superman. Warner Brothers never said, Henry Cavill's still our Superman. Henry Cavill's manager never said, Henry Cavill's still Superman. Nobody just said it. Which to me just confirms that the Hollywood Reporter story was 100% true. Now, things can change. Henry Cavill's my all-time favorite Superman. Let's see what happens as we move forward. All right. Gambino Drives writes, thoughts on the Hangover trilogy, chances for a fourth film. To me, The Hangover is a one-film franchise. Just to me, as a fan. There was the first Hangover. Let me see what Hangover did at the box office. Hangover, at least Hangover Part 1, made $467 million on just a $35 million budget. Are you kidding me? Hangover Part 2, expectedly because the first one was such a hit, did even more money at $586 million. Unfortunately, it wasn't a very good movie. Then we get into Hangover Part 3, and Hangover Part 3 took a nosedive because Part 2 was so bad, and it made $362 million on a $100 million budget. So Part 3 comes out. It makes the lowest amount out of any of the other films in the franchise, and it was the most expensive of any of the films in the franchise. The reason I say as a fan that The Hangover, who, by the way, The Hangover is probably the biggest surprise movie I've ever seen. Because The Hangover, you had Ed Helms, you had Bradley Cooper, who I'd always been a fan of Bradley Cooper because of his role on Alias, and this relative to most of us newcomer, Zach Galifianakis. And the trailers looked, it's a throwaway little comedy. And I went in to watch it like a throwaway little comedy, and the movie is bloody brilliant. That first Hangover movie is so flippin' good. Just so funny. And one of the biggest sleeper hits I had ever seen to this day. The second one, not so good. The third one, not so good, unfortunately. And with the third one being the lowest grossing and being the most expensive, and it really left a lot of people with a bad taste in their mouth, I really think the chances for a fourth one are very slim. Not to mention Bradley Cooper is just way too busy these days. You could probably get Zach Galifianakis or Ed Helms. I think you'd have a hard time getting Bradley Cooper these days. He's too busy trying to win Academy Awards with a Star Wars. Now he's directing and doing all these serious movies and blah, 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 blah. I don't know when we're going to see, like, Cooper come back and do comedy, let alone The Hangover. So for all of those reasons, I think a Hangover 4 is pretty doubtful, and I'm fine with that. I still have the first one. I love the first one, always will, and that's good enough for me. All right, Ralph Rochia writes, Warner Brothers' attitude to DC is the same as the Black Knight from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I lost an arm, no problem. You know what's funny? I'm hearing a lot of people draw those comparisons. I've been tweeted that. It's like, it's just a flesh wound, just a scratch. Come on, what are you gonna do? Bleed on me? Like it really is like everything's fine. Doesn't matter. It really does seem to be the attitude they're taking on it. But at the same time, in Warner Brothers' defense, I think at the same time, some film fans are overreacting. Like, to me, look, I hate the fact that Henry Cavill won't be Superman. He's my favorite Superman of all time. I think he's amazing. I want Man of Steel too, yada, 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 yada. But once I get past that, the fact of the matter is there are other actors who can play Superman. There are other actors out there who can play Superman, who can play Kal-El, who can play Superman. There are other guys out there who can do it. Maybe almost as good, maybe as good, hell, maybe even better. Now, I want Henry Cavill as Superman, but it's not like it's the end of the world. I hate that Warner Brothers may be losing Cavill. I think it's yet another, botched thing done with Warner Brothers and the DCU. But once I get past it, it's not the end of the world. So if Warner Brothers is acting like, hey, if we lose Henry Cavill, that sucks, but it's not the end of the world. If they're acting like that, it's because, hey, they're a 100-year-old, I don't know how old Warner Brothers is. It feels like they're 100 years old. They're a 100-year-old motion picture company. They've seen this 1,000 times. If they're acting like it's not the end of the world, it's because they know it's not the end of the world. I hate it. I don't like it. I want Henry Cavill as Superman. But it's not the end of the world, So that's, again, this is me trying to defend them a little bit. Shane Cutshaw writes, what soda do you normally drink? I bet you're a Coca-Cola guy like me. Well, you know what? I used to be a Coca-Cola guy. I used to do, no kidding, I used to go through two 2-liter bottles of Coke a day. 2-liter bottles a day. When I realized, holy crap, and I saw how many calories I was consuming a day just in cola, I switched to Diet Cola. And the funny thing is, while I like Coca-Cola over Pepsi, I actually quite prefer Diet Pepsi over Diet Coke. It's weird. I vastly prefer Coke over Pepsi, but I vastly prefer Diet Pepsi over Diet Coke. So I switched to Diet Pepsi. Then I started reading about all the the health issues that can come along with drinking too much diet soda and the artificial sweeteners. So I got recommended from a doctor I knew to try this soda. This is a cola, even though it's clear, it's a cola. And it's called Zevia Cola. And you can find it on Amazon. You can find it in some grocery stores. And what it is, it's a cola-flavored soda that doesn't use any sugar and doesn't use any artificial sweeteners either. So none of the whole calorie problems and none of the whole artificial sweetener problems. And I discovered this stuff, and I've actually acquired quite a taste for it. Now, every once in a while, you'll still see me with a dark soda. That'll be Diet Pepsi. So once or twice a week, you'll see me with a Diet Pepsi. But otherwise, what I mostly drink is Zevia. That's the stuff I drink. Thanks for asking. Christopher Benson writes, the de-aging of Sam Jackson in the Captain Marvel trailer looks incredible. It gets better with each Marvel film. Plus, Anna Kendrick is so damn cute. You're not going to get any arguments from me that Anna Kendrick is so damn cute. She's amazing. But here's the thing with me about the de-aging of Samuel L. Jackson. I personally don't find the de-aging looking all that amazing. Mostly because Samuel L. Jackson doesn't look all that old, just to start with. Like, don't get me wrong, I can see differences, but it's not a night and day difference for me. It's not like they took, I don't know, Anthony Hopkins and made him look like he's 20. You know? Anthony Hopkins is clearly a veteran gentleman. He's clearly in his later years. That's obvious by looking at it. And all of a sudden, now he looks like he's 20. Samuel Jackson, the dude just has incredible skin. Like, just amazing skin. To me, he doesn't look that old at all. So I see the Samuel Jackson de-aging stuff, and I'm not all that wowed by it. It looks good. It looks good. But I'm hard-pressed to see that many differences just between Samuel Jackson. Now, I'm sure we could find some picture of Samuel Jackson where he looks really old and hold it up to, the Captain Marvel trailer, and we'll see big differences. But honestly, for the most part, whenever I see Samuel Jackson, that is a dude who does not look his age, man. And so, yeah, it looks good, but it doesn't blow me away. Shane Cutshaw follows up. I guess a Predator sequel is in doubt. Oh, I think doubt might be an understatement. First of all, let me pull up the box office here. We mentioned the other day that The Predator set a new opening weekend box office record for futility. It made about $24 million on its opening weekend, which makes it the lowest opening weekend in cinematic history for a movie that opened on 4,000 screens or more. Now, there are films that opened with lower, yes, obviously, but a major film that's opened up on 4,000 screens or more. The previous record was Tom Cruise's The Mummy, which made about $35 million. This one made way under that. So there's that thing. As of right now, worldwide, and it's already lost most of its gas, The Predator has made $94 million worldwide. It's made $40 million domestically, $54 million internationally, for a worldwide total of about $94 million on an $88 million budget, which means this movie's going to lose a hell of a lot of money. So, yeah, Shane, yes, I agree. A Predator sequel is in high doubt. Not to mention, it just wasn't all that good. Jordan Bowe writes, have you ever seen the movie Cellular with Chris Evans and Jason Statham? Oh, yes, I have. And Kim Basinger. Not the best film in the world, but it's pretty fun. I wanted to like it because I was really big into Jason Statham at the time. And I no. Now, granted, look, it's been a long time since I've seen it. Let me just bring up the year here. Let's see. Cellular on IMDb. It came out 14 years ago. So, yeah, it came out a while ago. I forgot Jessica Biel was in that movie. I had totally forgotten about that. Is Chris Evans in it? Oh, yeah. Chris Evans is in it as well. But anyway, I did not like that movie. I wanted to like it. Now, granted, it's like I said, it's been 14 years since I've seen it. So maybe if I saw it again, I'd feel a little bit differently. But I don't remember liking it all to the point that I never watched it again. So, yeah, I'm glad you liked it, though, man. I'm glad you had some fun with it. That's always good. Kate W. writes, Does X-Men Dark Phoenix lose weight and meaning, considering Disney may take over the X-Men property and change things considerably? I don't think so at all. I don't think it's going to make it any better. I don't think it's going to make it any worse. Look, there are two things to keep in mind here. Number one, X-Men's philosophy has always been continuity schmontinuity. That's just always been the way it has been at Fox. They've never followed any sense of continuity. You know, and by the way, Logan, the director said himself, Logan is not in continuity with the rest of the X-Men films. It's an alternate version. It's an alternate vision, I should say. You know, in one movie, Liev Schreiber is Sabretooth. In another movie, Tyler Mane is Sabretooth. And a totally different Sabretooth. I said Cybertooth, I think. Sabretooth, a totally different Sabretooth. Then one guy's Caliban, then another guy's Caliban, then this happens in this time. No, this happens here. Like it's continuity, schmontinuity has always been the name of the game over there. And that extended into the whole X-Men Days of Future Past thing with the new character, or the X-Men Apocalypse thing with the new characters and blah, 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 blah. So honestly, a major change doesn't really mean anything in an X-Men universe type of film. The other reason why no weight or meaning is taken away is because, like somebody wrote the other day, like if Warner Brothers going to reboot, which they're not going to reboot the DCU, but if they were, why would I bother seeing Aquaman and Wonder Woman? Because that's like saying to me, why would I bother seeing Goodfellas? Well, if there's not going to be a sequel, then there's no point in watching the movie. Of course, it's for the movie. Or 12 Angry Men, or Shawshank Redemption, or a bunch of the greatest motion pictures of all time. Look, Dark Phoenix is going to be good or bad regardless of what happens in later films. And regardless of what happens with the franchise later. It might be the best X-Men movie ever made. And if it is, then it's the best X-Men movie ever made. And that doesn't get changed because Disney may take it over and completely change what the X-Men are. That doesn't take away, if it's the best X-Men film ever made, it doesn't take away that Dark Phoenix is the best X-Men film ever made. If it sucks, then it doesn't change that it sucks just because it's going to be taken over and changed later on. It's a movie that we will take and view and experience on its own merits. So, I mean, to say, would it lose its weight because it might get changed later? Well, that's like saying, does Shawshank Redemption lose any of its weight because there's no sequel? There's no continuation to the story. It just ends there. Well, no, of course not. It is what it is, and we should judge it on its own merits, and we'll see how that goes. And it's either going to suck, or it's going to be great, or it's going to be somewhere in between, regardless of what happens later on. So that's just kind of my thought on that. Holy Jeebus writes, Kiss Kiss, everybody's always getting on me with the Kiss Kiss Gangbang. Kiss Kiss Gangbang, John. I watched The Predator on Saturday with the girlfriend and we enjoyed it. I'm glad you did. I wish I enjoyed it more. It had some upside. The movie has its moments. It has its upside, but overall I was disappointed with it. And we enjoyed it. It was her first Predator movie, so I let her know it only gets better. This Saturday we plan to watch all three at my home. Well, I mean, if you like that one, if she liked that one, then yeah, the first Predator should thrill. The first Predator is the only great Predator movie they've ever made. Of course, that's all subjective. That's just my opinion, but that is my opinion. It's the only great Predator movie ever made. Adrian Brody's Predators was not bad. That, to me, is the second best Predator movie ever made. Was the Adrian Brody, the one that happens on the other planet, Predators. I like that one. That one's pretty good. But yeah, if you like this one, which more power to you, all film subjective, but if you like this one, hopefully she'll absolutely adore the original. With Carl Weathers, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jesse the Body Ventura. Hopefully she'll love that one. All right. Chris Hasdlin writes, isn't that Ronin at 1 minute and 32 seconds? I assume you're talking about the Captain Marvel poster or Captain Marvel trailer. When I first saw the trailer, one of the things I mentioned was I was really surprised we didn't see Ronin. But I guess I might be holding him to later. Now, then I had a whole bunch of people point out there's that one shot where you just get the back, the little tiny silhouette of Ronin from the back standing there. And I think, yes, that is true. That was Ronin. I mean, to me, essentially, he still wasn't in the trailer. But yes, technically speaking, you are correct. That was Ronin. Jarek Yan writes, young Coulson equals a mix of Martin Freeman and Kevin Spacey. You know, I've heard other people draw mentions of stuff like that. Yeah, I see that. I'm with you on that. I think I can see other things in there too. But if you were to look at that picture with me, say, I see Martin Freeman and Kevin Spacey blend there, I go, yeah, I could see that. Let's see. James Hoffman writes, I especially like the French songs in A Simple Favor. Gave the movie a feeling of culture and atmosphere. There are many things I love about this little movie. We're talking about the new Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick movie directed by Paul Feig called A Simple Favor. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. Probably not going to end up in my top 5 or top 10 favorite films of the year, but it's really wonderful. And you should absolutely check it out. It's very creative. I've never seen anything quite like it. And the performances are stellar. It's great. But yes, and I think that music they use to give that sense of culture and atmosphere is used on purpose to juxtapose against the chaos that underlies it. And that in that sense, it's another thing that's used really weird, but really effectively. So I'm in total agreement with you, James. I love that aspect of it. David Rainey writes, from the trailer, it feels like the MCU is setting up its own Superman, and I'm loving it. I'm going to assume you're talking about the Captain Marvel trailer. I don't know about that. I've had a lot of people write in and say the Captain Marvel trailer has given me a feeling of this movie or a feeling of that movie. And a lot of times I can see where they're coming from. I don't see that. I don't myself see or feel any kind of a Superman feel to it. So yeah, it didn't strike me that way, but it did for you and it worked, and that's great. But I'll watch it again and see if I can pick up on what you're feeling there too. Tyler Yeats writes, I hope one day they make a Superman movie and have Bizarro as the villain. I don't know about that. Bizarro is one of these really, I don't know. Bizarro's a silly character. I mean, when you go back to his original origins, I think if I remember correctly, he got started in in Superboy, I believe, where there was this copy ray or something called some guy invented a copy ray or a duplicate ray or a Xerox ray or something that it shoots something and makes a duplicate of it, right? Only it was a imperfect duplicate, and hence the Bizarro's thing kind of started, and that was the origins of it. And then they created a Bizarro world, and you have Bizarro #1, and Lois Lane was, oh, I feel so bad for Bizarro not having his own love interest. I'll shoot myself with the copyright too and give him Bizarro Lois. And then in a comic book world, it's kind of perfect. I don't know that you could make a movie with a Bizarro as your villain and actually have people buy tickets to it and go to it. I don't know. I mean, who knows? Maybe that's the most brilliant idea ever. Maybe. My first impression is I don't see the general movie-going audience getting on board with it. It's a little too silly. But I mean, there have been ways that Bizarro has been used in the past in much more darker kind of ways. But when you actually go back to the origins of the character, I don't know. I just can't see it working, but who knows? Maybe it could be the most genius thing ever. Jacob Silvers writes, I wasn't crazy about the Captain Marvel trailer. It didn't feel like a Marvel trailer. Well, I wasn't crazy about it either. Let's be honest. I think it's a solid little trailer for a first trailer to a character we've never seen before, for a movie not coming out for another half a year. And I think it had some really good moments. I think it's a perfectly solid trailer, but I wasn't crazy about it either. There are some people writing in, it's oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. I'm really? Greatest thing ever? Maybe the next one will be, but whatever. I wasn't crazy about it either. And I agree. It did not feel like your typical Marvel trailer. But I'll be honest with you, I thought that's a good thing. Personally, I thought that was a good thing. That didn't necessarily feel like a Marvel trailer. But whether that's good or bad is up to personal taste. But basically speaking, I agree that I wasn't crazy about it, but I did like it. I thought it was solid. And I agree with you. It didn't feel like your typical Marvel trailer. Not at all. It didn't follow the typical beats that a Marvel trailer usually does. And whether that's I consider it a good thing, maybe for you that's a little bit of a detraction. But let's wait and see how the second trailer turns out in a few months. All right. Jeremiah J. writes, is Aquaman not moving dates for the same reasons Justice League didn't move? Executives want a bonus before the end of the year and don't serve the best interests of the movie. Okay, so what Jeremiah is talking about is there were several major reports from major trades, not anonymous Reddit users, not some obscure blogs, but actually from the major trades, that there were filmmakers involved with Justice League that requested to have more time to finish the movie. However, top executives didn't want to move it into the following year because then they'd lose out on their bonus for that year. The bonuses they get tied to their overall box office performance of their movies. And they may not be around next year because AT&T was taking over the company. They may lose their jobs. They wanted to get their bonuses. So that's something that had been reported. Whether that's true or not really sure. No one's ever explicitly denied it, but anyway. So could the reason that they haven't moved Aquaman be tied to the same reason? I'll say no for two important reasons. Important reason number one, if they were going to move this movie, I always thought it was more likely that they would move it earlier. Drop it in a September. Drop it in an October. Drop it in a November. See, I always thought, and I think the presumption has been, if they were going to move Aquaman, the most likely scenario would be that they would move it earlier. Right? So there would be no reason not to move it earlier if the reason they weren't moving it was because they wanted to keep their bonus. Well, they could have moved it earlier and kept their bonus, right? That ties into the second reason why I don't think this is the same situation. And that is this. There were filmmakers involved with Justice League that wanted more time. They were asking to push off the release date. It's the exact opposite situation that we have with Aquaman. This movie's basically done. James Wan got a huge jump on this movie. They've shot very effectively and very efficiently, and they're pretty much done with the film. They're doing some touch-ups and whatever, but yeah, this isn't the same situation as a Justice League where you had the filmmakers saying, please give us more time, and Warner Brothers said, no more time for you, right? This is a thing where this thing's pretty much done. They don't need more time. The movie's pretty much done. They could just release it earlier. So no, I really don't think, I've always thought they should move Aquaman, but apparently they decided not to do it. That's fine. But I don't think it has anything to do with executives being greedy and wanting an extra bonus, because if they were going to move it, they probably just would have moved it earlier, in which, because the film is ready to go, and they would have got their bonus anyway. So no, I don't think this is the same situation. I totally understand why you'd ask, but for those reasons, I don't think this is the same situation as the Justice League situation. Carnell B writes, several times recently you've said we've got Spider-Man Far From Homecoming. I always chuckle because I hear Spider-Man Far From Homecoming. Love the show. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, I every once in a while I trip over my words. Like, for instance, the other day I was talking about a movie and it made like $125 million, and I said $125 or something like that. Sometimes I'll say like the right first name but the wrong last name. Look, it's one of the drawbacks of talking for 2 to 3 hours a day live with no editing, no support staff around me, and no co-hosts. Because if you don't do it live, you just pre-record, you can always correct it and then fix it. That's fine. When you've got co-hosts, I can say Spider-Man Far From Homecoming, and somebody will say Spider-Man Far From Home, and I go, oh yeah, Spider-Man Far, and we just correct ourselves, right? If I have other staff in the room, then they can send me a note or hold up a thread or send me a quick chat on my computer saying, you said this wrong, and oh yeah. But it's me talking live off the top of my head with no co-host to correct me and no editing to fix it. So every once in a while, I will stumble and say something stupid like that. But believe you me, man, it's not the only thing I say wrong. I'm sure I say something wrong almost every day. Act Naturally Productions writes, I've come to look after the Banks children. Us? Oh, yes, you too. If that line downs say... You probably mean doesn't. If that line doesn't say what this movie's about, I don't know what would. Well, no, I don't think that tells us what the movie's about. I think that's one element, but I don't think that's what the movie is about. Oh, maybe it is. But I don't think so yet. I think they haven't yet told us what the whole movie's about. I think we'll probably get that in the next and final trailer. But yeah, I think there's an important element there. That she's not just there to look after the kids. She's there to look after the kids she used to look after who are now adults. But what's the story under that? So, okay, that's fine, but what's now the story? That they haven't quite revealed to us yet. But I'm telling you what, man, I love that trailer. I love that Mary Poppins trailer, man. And that was one of the really cool lines in it, too. I really like that one. All right, and that will do it for this installment of the companion videos. Listen, guys, don't forget there's John Campia's show is back again Monday morning. All new stuff, all new movie news. We've already got some of our topics lined up. Make sure you join us. It's at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you come back and join us for that. And, of course, open mic is in the afternoons. That'll do it for me for now, guys. It's Sunday. I'm going to go watch me some football, play a little bit of Dungeons & Dragons later. I hope you guys have had and continue to have an awesome weekend. I'll talk to you guys later. My name's John Campia, and until then, bye-bye.